are excited about Jeremy being here. We said we had 7 years together, 6 years, 7 years?
6 years.
6 years at Texas, and Jeremy worked with John Bianco, so we understand what we want. Now we just need to learn how to work with you. The purpose of these press conferences would be to get you what you need, what you want. I said I worked in your business for the last 5 years, so I understand better now than I did 5 years ago exactly what you need. And also this is an outlet for us to give our fans and recruits and high school coaches information. So that's what we'll be going forward. So please ask us and we'll give you everything that we can. After 3 months, there's absolutely no doubt that I'm loving every minute of this. It's the best thing for Sally and I was to be back in coaching. We miss the kids, we miss mentoring the kids, and we've had a blast. And we were at the workout this morning at 6 o'clock and had so much fun, and it's just good to be back and good to be coaching. Coaches coach, and this is what I need to be doing, and I'm so happy that and blessed Bubba offered us this job, and so glad that we took it. We felt great support from the state since we've been back, and the community and the university, and we need that to translate into a huge crowd at the spring game, because we're going to have fun. We just announced this morning that Grammy-nominated artist Mack will be at a concert right after the game. It'll be over in Carmichael. But there's a full day of events. There's sporting events with our student athletes on campus. There's a lot of things that the students are doing. There's a race involved. They'll have a lot of games and stuff for the kids, because we're really working at getting a better game day atmosphere and doing a better job with our tailgating. And this will kind of be the first part of that, getting ready to go into the fall. But we're really excited about just the spring in general. And the spring game. Brian Hess and his staff have done a tremendous job. He brought a guy with him, Maurice Sims from Army, and he kept 3 guys that were here, and they've meshed together and done a tremendous job. They're giving us a more confident, a more physical, a tougher team than we saw 3 months ago when we got here. So those guys have really accomplished a lot in a short period of time. For instance, this morning we took every offensive player, pitted him against a defensive player, and they competed for an hour in all the drills that we did, and we had a winner and loser at everything we've done. And then in the end we took an offensive lineman, pitted him against a defensive lineman for the sled drills, and we did the same thing at every position. And it was a lot of fun, a lot of excitement, and the defense ended up winning the off-season program more than the offense, so they'll get fed better. And that's just their reward as we're going through it. But we had a real challenging off-season program. The guys came back after a weekend on Monday and didn't do well. They did a lot better on Wednesday. This morning is by far the best we've had, and it was really encouraging as we get ready to go into spring. Our goals for spring practice would be to get the base offense, defense, and special teams in. Our defense will be a multiple defense. That'll be very aggressive. It's like the offense. It's going to highlight the best players. I've really been impressed with Jay Bateman and all he brings. He's not a guy that's locked into one thing. He's had to take players at Army, some of them that were undersized, and do a lot of different things to try to work against the better offenses in the country, like Oklahoma that they played. And he's just been able to do a magnificent job of getting the right players in the right place. And he's looking forward to that this spring. We'll have quite a few of our guys out for the starters on defense this spring, but that also gives us a great chance to start developing depth. And that's what we need. We haven't had enough depth the last couple of years, so that'll be important to us. Offensively, we're going to be the air raid offense that is so hot and popular right now in the NFL and college, and we'll mix in the power running game. And be a physical football team. And again, if we're running it better than we're throwing it, we'll be heavy on the run. But either way, we feel like we've got to be do what we do best. And then special teams, I've been impressed with Scott Boone. He was special teams coordinator at a number of different places. We've been working hard on all the special teams. We'll be sound in special teams, but we'll also be aggressive. We're going to come after it. We don't have a kicker that's, I think our kickers kicked two 2 extra points, and we don't have a punter that's ever punted. So obviously there are big question marks in the kicking game that we have to get answered either this spring or with some recruiting for next fall. We won't really have starters in the spring. We'll have guys that are trying to work to earn a number of plays. We won't call them a first team, second team, third team. We'll go, the blue team will be the guys that are out there first. The white team will be the guys that are out there second. The guys that'll be out there third will be the gray team. And what they're earning, they're trying to earn the right to dress at home, earn the right to travel. Then you got to earn the right to play. Then you've got to earn the right to play the number of plays that you feel like you can play at full speed and be better than the guy in front of you. And that's what we've talked to them about. I used to talk to Coach Smith and Coach Guthridge here about why are you guys so good at what you do all the time? And Coach Guthridge always said it's playing time. You've got to find the maximum number of plays that your starter is full speed, and when that drops off, you put the second guy in and see how many plays he can be as good as a tired starter, and playing time is real key for us. So we're demanding that the guys simply earn the right for everything they do, and that's on the field and off the field. So if they're going to class, if they're acting right, if they've busted their rear end throughout the off-season program, then they have a better chance to get more playing time in the spring than if not. And if they haven't earned that right, they won't be out there early. That's just part of it. That's what they've been told, and they understand that, and they know it. We're not giving away reps. They have to earn those reps, and we feel like that's very, very important. And understanding, like on Sunday, we'll be in shorts. And I had an older friend, Joe Jamel, told me one time, who's a prominent lawyer at Texas, and the field's named after him, that you can't learn to swim in swimming without water, and you can't learn to play football without pads. So we'll watch them run around. We'll try to teach them on Sunday and then again on Tuesday, but we probably won't know as much about them till we put the pads on Thursday before we get ready to go to spring break. What we're trying to do with them, and we told them this the first day, is you got to learn to communicate before you can get anything else. So they got to learn to talk to us, and that's happening. We're getting a lot of conversation back and forth, and then with your conversation you build up trust and respect. I think that's happening now. We've had some hard days with them and put our thumb down on them and told them we're going to demand that they do things right every day, and those things mean that they give us maximum effort every day in everything they do, that they give us attention to detail in every little thing they do. They develop a toughness mentally and physically, and they learn to compete. And they compete at everything they do all the time, and then that gives them confidence. And it's the process. We're not talking about wins and losses. We're not talking anymore about last year. This is our team. This is our staff. And we're talking about moving forward. And really the first day of moving forward starts on Sunday. And that's important to us. And after you get the communication, the trust and respect, then you get common purpose. And our common purpose is to have fun, get their degrees, help them become better men when they get out of here and start life after football and win all the games. And that's just who we are. And everything they do should be working toward one of those 4 goals. And that's important to us. A couple of guys we're looking at different positions. We're thin in the defensive line, so we'll look at Avery Jones at nose tackle to start with in the spring. He's been an offensive lineman. So we'll look at him some both ways. So when we're doing our pass rush, pass pro drills, we'll let him do both. He'll protect so Stacy Searles can see him, but he'll rush the passer. You've got Devin Lawrence is going to look at slot because he's been a running back. We're pretty heavy at running back right now with the 3 seniors, but we're thin in the wide receiver spots because running an air raid offense, you're going to have 4 wides in there a lot, and we don't have enough wide receivers really to do what we need to do in the fall. So we'll be looking at that. And then there'll be some guys that we're going to look at on both sides of the ball, and that simply means that you just look at a young man while he's playing corner. When you're in one-on-ones, you put him over at the wide receiver and let him run some and catch some balls and see if that works for him too. And we've got to figure out where is the best place for our players, because evaluation of personnel for our new staff is really, really important to make sure that we utilize every person that we can to make sure we start developing some depth. So that'll be key for us. But you'll hear us say earn the right a whole lot, because that's very, very important for what we're doing. We think recruiting's gone really well. We got what we needed for needs in 2019, and we're off to a fantastic start in 2020. High school coaches have been unbelievable to us. We've got Urban Meyer coming in to speak at our high school clinic. We've already had to move it over to the Smith Center because we've got so many requests of guys that are coming. So we feel like that all of that's working really, really well. Our recruiting philosophy will not change. We're going to try to get the best players in North Carolina and then to get great players out of state. And that's just who we are, and that will not change while we're here. Looking at graduate transfers, we haven't really talked to any yet. But we're looking at the possibility of a couple of guys in the next month or two that we might talk to, and they would be guys that could come in and make an impact in some way, or help us with depth, and they'd have to be guys that fit the university. But it's not been something that has been big on our mind. We've been trying to evaluate the guys that we have here more than anything else. John Smith is he got behind academically, so he will be out of school for the spring semester. He's doing well. He can work with Coach Thigpen individually. He can work with our strength coaches individually. He's doing all that, and we anticipate that he'll be back and join our football team in June. So we think that he'll be back on track. I've talked to Nathan Elliott a couple of times this week. Nathan has done everything right in this program. He's been a captain, he's been a leader, he's really fought his guts out on the field, and I really like him. He is a guy I said if I didn't know his dad so well, and his dad wasn't big and strong, I'd try to adopt him, but his dad probably whipped me if I did. But he has decided that he's going to drop out of graduate school and go to Arkansas State to be a graduate assistant and help them coach. And I think it's our job is to give them options, and it's good that he had that option. We want him to stay, but totally understand that he has got some other things. And Jeremy, I think you've got something that Nathan wrote for the folks.
If you want to take one and pass it down. Coach, you want to run that again about what he's doing?
I'm sorry?
Say that again.
Okay, Nathan, he came in to me this week and said he either wants to coach here or he wants to coach at Arkansas State. Coach Heckendorf is at Arkansas State. Coach Anderson recruited him here when he was here before with Coach Fedora. So he has decided that he wants to go immediately to Arkansas State, withdraw from graduate school. He's already got his degree from University of North Carolina. He's done a tremendous job here. He's done everything right, and we were all on board because we want him to do what's best for him. He again has earned that right. It's so funny. He talked to me about it yesterday, and then this morning at 6 o'clock he was a leader in the off-season program, and I told him, why would you go through the off-season program? He said, Coach, that's just who I am. And then after the off-season program this morning, he announced to the team that he had decided to go ahead and coach at Arkansas State. What about questions? Yes, sir.
Greg Barnes in South Carolina. Why the air raid?
When you look right now, Greg, at what the Los Angeles Rams are doing, what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing, the hottest offenses in the Cardinals just hired Cliff Kingsbury. If you look at the colleges that are scoring a lot of points and moving the ball, the game has become a game that uses the entire field now. They spread people out, and the air raid does that the best. And it's utilizing quarterbacks the best. Everybody now is using parts of air raid, and I kind of grew up working against it because Mike Leach started at Oklahoma when he got there with Bob Stoops, and then he went to Tech. And then we had Cliff Kingsbury. So I've been coaching against it, and it's a very difficult offense to defend as long as you run the ball. To me, when you weren't running the ball, it was a pass offense, and if you stopped the screens and the short runs and the short passes and made them force the ball deep, you had a better chance to win. but when it's really a balanced offense and you're really good at both phases and you can emphasize one or the other, it's very, very hard to stop. And in watching and being around all the meetings for the last 3 months here with Phil, and we've got guys like Robert Gillespie who were involved in that offense at Oklahoma State and at West Virginia, and Lonnie Galloway who was involved with that offense at West Virginia. So a lot of our guys know a lot about this offense, so that helps us as well. But very, very impressed that in both cases, the two coordinators that we brought in have complicated looking systems that are very simple for the players to learn. And that's why I'm excited. That's why I hired them both, and that's why I'm excited about both. Also, if you look at it, we've got established confidence. We haven't done as well in the last few years as we'd like to. Both Phil and Jay have taken lesser players in their careers and won games with them. So I want them taking our players and putting them in positions where they can be successful like they did at Army and really like they did at Sam Houston. I was as impressed with what Phil did his 3 years at Sam Houston, getting them to the playoffs every year, as I was with what he did last year at Ole Miss.
Andrew Jones, Tar Heel Illustrated. I think on signing day you said you'd spoken to about 30 players or so. Have you spoken to all the ones that are on scholarship to this point? And what are your just thoughts after having a chance to meet with those kids?
Yeah, Andrew, I've met every player. I sat down and talked to every player, walk-on scholarship individually, some 5 minutes, some 30. And what I was asking is, number one, to get to know them, I need to know faces and names, and we put all their names on the back of their T-shirts in the off-season program. So you sit there and you look at him and say, he's fast, and then turn around, let me see who you are. But it was really healthy for me because I could ask them, where are you from? What's your family like? Why'd you come here? What are you studying? What do you want to get when you get out? You were here when we won 11 games. What happened that we dropped off? And then just asking each one of them, tell me about the leadership last year. Tell me about what you like about the place. Tell me about the concerns. What do we need to change? Why is it not working right now? And it was really healthy for me to go through that process with all the guys.
Coach, Todd Gibson, CBS 17. When you got out of coaching, how long did it take you to realize that you wanted to get back here?
Is it Todd?
Todd, yes.
Todd, when I got out of coaching, I really feel like I was tired. I didn't realize I was tired, but when I got out, I took 6 months and did nothing. In fact, I promised Sally I'll do whatever you want for 6 months, and don't ever tell your wife that, because it's a very difficult 6 months, because I went everywhere. She got up one day in the Bahamas, and her goal was to get up and see the sunset in the Bahamas and see the sunrise in the Bahamas and see the sunset in Hawaii. And I said, I got it, but let's do it in 3 days. I mean, come on, man. What kind of goal is that? Then I started TV, and I really enjoyed the TV. But I just knew that there was something out there that every time I'd go call a game, I'd get excited about pregame. I'd tear up some at the national anthem, and I'd be into the game, and I'd be thinking this and this, and what's this coach doing? And then doing the TV games, I sit there and watch 24 games every Saturday, and then coaches, universities started calling me, wanting to interview me, and I didn't know that I wanted to do this. Coach Vermeil told me that he stayed out 17 years, so don't ever say no, because if you say no, you're a liar if you ever do it again. So just say if the right opportunity comes up. But every time somebody called, I'd tell Sally, this is great. I'm gonna go talk to these people. And she'd kind of look at me and roll her eyes and say, yeah, be careful, be smart. And then after the interview, it just wasn't what I wanted. And when this came up, it's a blessing. It's like a dream come true to be back at a place you love, that you've still got some unfinished business, and you know so many people at the university and in the community and in the state. It couldn't be better. So I don't think that I really think after the Hall of Fame announcement, and then we started coming back and talking to all the players and talking to the Corey Hollidays and the Rick Steinbachers and the Tommy Thigpens about how much we meant in their life, is when I really realized that my gift and Sally's gift is to mentor young people, and that's what we do best. And as much as I loved my life, there was a void because I didn't have that in it. And I think that's what's got me back. And like this morning, you just love it. I mean, I'm up at 5 o'clock and out there watching these guys compete, and that you just love to see them compete and grow up, and to see how much they've improved since the first off-season program till this morning. Then you get ready for the next phase. I can't wait till Sunday. It's going to be so much fun to see them out there. And again, I didn't know for sure that I'd ever be back out on the field with them again, so Sunday will be another dream for me.
Ross Martin in South Carolina. You touched briefly on the strength and conditioning program and Coach Hess. Excuse me. What in particular are you really trying to achieve with that program? Maybe different from what was here previously, and some maybe more particulars on aspects of that program that you want to install.
Yes, Ross. I don't know what was here before, so I can't speak on that. But what we wanted is we wanted enthusiasm, and we wanted a guy who would individualize each position. Because in modern day, for strength coaches that are doing the same things with the offensive line and the wide receivers are not what we were looking for, because we don't want power lifters. We wanted somebody who related each thing they did in stretching and in lifting and in conditioning to football. And just like this morning in the off-season program, we had a first half, we had a halftime, the coaches got them ready to start, the coaches were with them at halftime, we have a fourth quarter, then we had an overtime. So we want a guy who is a football strength coach, who everything he does relates to helping them prepare for the game. And that's what this bunch has done. And then to Brian's credit, he's really, really hard on them. He can do everything they do. He's in great shape. He's very enthusiastic. The guys love his energy. But at the same time, he's really hard on them and calls them out and made them, we with attention to detail, if they hit a cone, if they were a little bit late crossing the line, if they didn't sprint from drill to drill, he blew the whistle and called it back, made them start over. And Monday we probably had 7 redos. This morning we had 1. So we're making progress, and I give him a lot of credit for all the things he's done.
Back, Charlie Mickens, ABC 11. I know it's spring, so you haven't been out there with your team, but if you can, what is the biggest question mark you have going into this spring with your team?
I think, Charlie, the biggest question mark is depth. What players do we emphasize? Who do we have that we can put them in the positions to win with on defense and offense? Who do you get the ball to? We obviously have a huge question at quarterback. Those guys will start out like everybody else. They've all 3 done really well in the off-season program. They've done everything right off the field. So I haven't even asked Phil which one's going to step up first. It doesn't matter, because we'll evaluate them throughout the spring. And we've got to develop depth. Depth helps team morale. We've had a lot of injuries the last couple of years. Depth helps eliminate more injuries than not, because you're not tired on the field and you're not out there. And with these tempo offenses, especially on defense, people get tired, and we lost a lot of games late. So we need depth, we need morale, we need confidence, and all of those things are what we're looking for in the spring.
Matt, Jonathan Alexander, News and Observer. With your quarterbacks, assuming Powell, Luder, and Ford are those guys, what are you looking for in a quarterback to start to run your offense?
Jonathan, what we're looking for in a quarterback, and this will sound simplistic, I don't even mean it as sarcastic, but it's who's going to move the ball and score points, period. And we've told them that. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how old you are, who moves the ball and scores points. And we had a rule at Texas: you moving it and scoring points, you stayed in. That's what we're looking for. It's about winning. It's not about anything else. And the guy that can get us in the end zone is the guy we're going to play.
Mack, Aaron Beard with the Associated Press. You mentioned morale as far as part of the depth thing, but this is a team that lost a lot of close games, and we wondered a little bit in the media, how much was there a here we go again feeling with them taking the field each week? You talked about you meeting with the players and talking with them. Can you rebuild confidence in regards to that part in the spring at all, or is it something that until you get to preseason camp and games, you can't really see it have a benefit.
It's a great question. To answer the first part of it, absolutely, you can build confidence. And you build confidence by changing their bodies because of what they eat, the weightlifting, the running, and they can see the change. Sleep patterns, one of the biggest issues, two of the biggest issues with young student athletes in college are time management, because they get tired and disoriented because you have them doing so much every day. They have very little life outside of football. The other thing is sleep. They get sleep they don't sleep enough. But they get sleep deprivation, and then they end up being in a position where they're tired and they're just worn out because they stay up and do video games, or they stay up and study because they didn't prepare. So all of those things we can help, and as simple as they sound, that's part of the process. Then they have to learn that you can not take a lazy step, ever. You have to be full speed every play, and you have to do that in the off-season program. Then Sunday, we've got to teach them to practice, because we're going to practice, I'm sure, a little bit differently than they're used to. And then you get them to go full speed in practice, but you're full speed without hitting each other, because you don't want to hurt each other in shorts. So they're going to be trying to impress their coach, because we're saying you got to earn the right to play. Well, don't hit him. I mean, so when does he pull off? So we've got to teach all that stuff, and you go through the process, and you talk about process more than winning. Because if you're doing everything right and everybody's hustling and the coaches are getting the players in the right place to make plays, you'll win your games. But don't just talk about winning, talk about process. Talk about the things you have to do to get to a point where you can win. And then as coaches, you don't know what you have until you play the game. And I've always felt like for a team to flip it, they're going to have to win a close game at some point to gain that confidence. And then they start playing a lot better. But we all say we know who the leaders are. You don't know till you're in a tight game. And you don't learn in a blowout either way. You learn in tight games who the guys are that are going to step up and make the difference.
Mack, you also mentioned Urban Meyer. Do you anticipate he'll serve any other role in the staff as well? And what do you hope that he brings to the high school clinic that you have?
No, Urban's been a great friend for a long time, and I'd love for him to talk to our team briefly. We have a speaker every now and then. Dwight Hollier's in charge of it, who was a great player here and a captain for us. He's in charge of our player development, wellness for the entire department. And he started a thing, Wellness Wednesday, Well-Heeled Wednesday, excuse me. And he brought in Bucky Brooks, who was a first-round draft choice here. It's a prominent TV celebrity right now with the NFL Network. We brought in Brian Simmons this Wednesday, and he spent an hour with him just talking about his life and what he did here, and what he's done afterwards, and how he was raised, and all those things. So I'd like for Coach Meyer to address our team about winning and about the process and why his teams have been so successful in coaching, and what he would expect a new team here to do. And then he'll talk to our staff. We'll have lunch with him, and they'll be able to ask him questions. And then he'll do the same with the high school coaches. But he will not have any other duties or responsibilities other than that. I think he's going to play golf with Bubba one day, because they were buddies at Notre Dame. So, and he said Bubba beat him, or Bubba said Urban beat him. I've seen Urban play. I've seen Bubba play. I don't think that's the case. I'm going Bubba. You better get a bunch of strokes if he's going to win.
Can you beat him?
Right now, I couldn't beat anybody. I hadn't seen a golf club in 3 months. So
You mentioned
at one point, I could have beaten him when he was coaching. I had my 5 years off, yes.
You mentioned impressing the coaches. Is that part of building a more competitive spirit within? Does it kind of start with impress us, and then there's a carryover effect where it becomes a constant on a regular basis?
Absolutely.
And how much can you, as a staff, instill that in guys, and how much of it is just entirely on them being who they are?
Yeah. The one powerful thing we have is the bench. They all want to play. So if you don't bust your tail and you don't compete, you're not going to play, period. And our job is to motivate them to do that, but at the same time tell them when they don't do it, come here, that's why you're not going to play. That you wonder why you're not playing. Don't gripe at me. That's why you're not playing right there. Pick it up. You got to change that. And that's what we've been doing for 3 months, is trying to tell them that this is the standard. This is the expectation. This is the process. And if you don't live up to that, you're not going to play, because it's not fair to your other teammates. It's not fair to fans. It's not fair to your coaching staff. You've got to show us that you have a chance to win. The sad ones are the ones that do everything right and aren't good enough to play. Then that's where you get into a difficult decision, because what do you do with them when they're doing everything they can do and they're just not talented enough? And you always have some of those too. So that's when it gets down to where I have to look at it and see, can they do something to help us? But if a guy, regardless of how talented he is not going to give full effort and be competitive on every play, then we're not going to play him. We're going to have people grading effort on every snap in practice. That's what analysts do. That's what quality control guys do. Every play, you're going to have somebody, you're going to have a technique grade, and you're going to have an effort grade. And then a production grade. Because you can be productive and not have the right technique. So we can get the technique better, but every play, they're going to be graded on those 3 areas.
Mack, clearly you've had a lot of success. You also had the opportunity for 5 years to kind of travel around and see how other coaches did things. I'm curious, how much have you changed from maybe your last year at Texas in terms of how you're implementing your structure and those kind of things?
I think probably quite a bit. It's funny that in Dwight Hollier, Rick Steinbacher, Corey Holliday, Tommy Thigpen, Dre Bly, Tim Brewster were with us here the whole time. So it's funny how many times they say, you haven't changed much. We heard that same stuff and it's still working, but there's different methods of practice. I really feel like it was so healthy for me from so many different aspects to step away because I've said it, but I do know a lot more about your all's business now. So many coaches are paranoid and think you're after them, and I understand. I had to try to figure out something to say every day that would get to somebody's head and get some attention and get eyes on us, and there's pressure. There's pressure to do that. So I didn't understand that. I don't think coaches understand that your jobs are really hard because you got to get something interesting, and a lot of times you don't have information, so you got to try to get information to get something interesting. You want it to be honest. You want it to be accurate. So it's all hard, and every time you ask, the coach is saying, what's he want? I mean, so that's the world that the coaches live in, so I've been blessed that I see that differently now. I've been able to watch all the different offenses and defenses. I've learned that you've got to be really, really careful in recruiting with highlight films, because I've got 10 good plays that somebody could find of me somewhere, but you need to look at every game. You need to look at how many loafs. You need to cut out all the loafs. You need to cut out all the great blocks, all the bad blocks. You need to cut out the completions and the incompletions of the quarterback. You need the drops. So you just don't look at a guy and say, hey, he looks great. It's a process that you have to go through in evaluation. And that's why I hired Coach Moody, and that's why I hired Kenny Browning, and that's why I hired Daryl Sparky Woods. So we got older eyes, experienced eyes, along with a lot of young eyes on a lot of different players. So for a player to be evaluated right now for a take for us, a scholarship offer, he has to pass about 8 different tests of eyes before he gets to me. And then he has to pass the academic test and the character test. And I thought we probably got a little sloppy at that at the end at Texas, because we were getting who we wanted, and all of a sudden you see a highlight film and a guy might not go see him. And the other thing, before we offer scholarships, I'd like to meet him. You know, I've always said you're not going to get married without dating. So I see a video. I'd like to see a person. I'd like to see the family. And I'd like to see if he's the guy that fits here, because I've been here. I know what fits here. And Greg, when I was here before, I had an awesome dinner one night with Bo Schipbecker. Coach came in to do an ABC game. He said, well, let's go to dinner. And I said, Coach, in recruiting in the end, who do you take? Let's say you got 12 guys left and you need 4. Which 4 do you take? And he said, well, they're all good. He said, so the 4 I would take is the 4 I like. Because if you like them, they're going to like you. And if you don't like them, they're not going to like you, and they're not going to play hard for you in the 4th quarter. So that's who I'd take. And it was simple, but it makes so much sense. Take the guys you like. Hire the guys you like. We don't want to be around people we don't like, and that's just part of the process. And then you look at defensive strategies have changed because the big heavy lineman's not playing anymore. You got too many spread offenses. They're spreading the field. You got too many screens and draws and flares, and big guys can't run. They get tired. They can't stay out there with the tempo offenses. So you got to have athletes up front on defense. And now people are they're playing maybe the big guys on first down, but you got pass rushers on second and third down. And third down defenses have completely changed. The whole game now is on the third down defense and trying to be disruptive and coming after them in different ways. So, and I sat and watched every game I would do. We would ask the coach, what do you have to do to win? And all of the TV people would smirk at me when they'd say, protect the ball, win the kicking game. And they'd say, give us something new, man. And really and truly, that's what it is. You got to protect the ball. You got to knock some balls loose because turnovers make the difference in this game. Don't kill yourself with penalties. Get your hidden yards and special teams, and that's it. And it doesn't change. The other thing that I noticed that over the 5 years, which seems simplistic, but so many teams don't play hard. That they're flat. And we all say, how can they come out here 13 times a year, 12 times a year and be flat? That's all. It's 13 days. It's 12 days. How can you do that? But it happens. Happens because they're tired. Happens because they're worn out in school. More upsets happen in opening ball games because coaches have too much in and they're too tired before you start the season. It happens at midterm because there's more upsets at midterm than anywhere else because they're getting ready for their rivals at the end and try to make their bowl run, but they're tired with midterm tests, so they're worn out. And you just don't realize it, but we sit there and say 11 upsets this weekend. How's it happen? Well, it happens because they're tired. And so my job and our coach's job is to create the edge every day in practice so we don't have a game in this stadium where we're not 100% and we're flat and we're not ready to go. And on Monday, when our team did not do well in the offseason, first thing I did is chew out the coaches. It's their job. You're supposed to create an edge with every player, and you didn't do it. So don't yell at the players. Look in that mirror, look at yourself, and it's my job to create that with our coaches, and they did that much better on Wednesday and Thursday. So a lot of things I learned. I'm a lot better coach now than I was when I was here before. I'm a lot better coach now than I was when I left Texas. And it was a blessed 5 years to get energy back and realize what you missed. So I can enjoy the things that I missed over the time that I was out. And I think I can add so much more to our coaches, and that's my job.
We got time for one more quick one. If somebody has.
Yes, sir.
Mack, Sam Dowden, Argyle Report. You mentioned in the signing day press conference the possibility of switching the grass surface at Keenan to turf. Is that something you have a more definitive answer on now? And if so, why is the switch being made?
Sam, we really don't have a definitive answer now. What we're doing is in discussions, and we're looking at it. There's a lot of rain here. A lot of different people use the field. The field was in horrible shape last year. We've had to resod it now because there's been so much use on it this spring. So what we're doing is we're looking at everything. We're looking at injuries, turf compared to grass. We're looking at the types of turf that are really safe for the players. We're looking at longevity and maintenance. We're looking at cost. And Bubba and I are having very good and aggressive conversations back and forth about which is best for us. And we're actually calling everybody that at major places, in places where there's heat and a lot of rain, and saying, why did you change? If you changed, would you still change again? And tell us why and all of that. So we're not there yet, but we'll probably stay off of this field most of the time between now and the spring game just to let the grass grow back. And our grass isn't ready up at the practice area. I walked on it last night, and they're hoping it'll be ready when we get back from spring break. I'm not sure it will be. So I don't know if we'll be on grass until the spring game this year. But it's just something we're still looking at.
Can I ask one quick one? In relation to that, the last 2 years they had to practice here, and Larry didn't use it as an excuse, but he did mention that they were sort of hamstrung. How much more room do you have indoors to run a full practice in there as opposed to what they had out here?
Yeah, The indoor area is the best one I've ever seen in 42 years of coaching. It is unbelievable. And it's got space. At Texas, we had no room on either sideline or the end zones, so we couldn't scrimmage. You couldn't hit outside the numbers. So you were very limited what you could do. You could have a full scrimmage in this one. You could have a full game. At Texas, we couldn't punt and kick because it wasn't high enough. And thank goodness we had punters and kickers that could kick it high enough to hit the top. Here, you can't hit the top. So we will be able to do everything we need to do in the indoor area, and we're so blessed to have it. I know it hurt Larry not to be in it last fall, but it's we're really excited. And then we've got a training room over there that's finished now. We will have a full turf field on the outside and a full grass field on the outside, and then whatever we decide to do here. So we're going to have a great practice complex. Okay?
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you, guys.